Welcome to episode 91 of Instant Expertise Marketing. Sherry and I get a lot of questions about what AI can actually do. Like, what can I do with it? Or what are you doing with it? And this type of thing. And, it reminds me of that meme of the stick character that's like poking at the thing, right? It's kind of like that. And so we thought we'd do a little something different today by sharing with you what each of us does, like 3 ways that we use AI on a regular basis. And the reason why is to really help explain and reinforce the idea that how you use and interact with AI is as individual and unique as you and your skills and your life. And so we're going to sort of run through that a little bit and give you a little inspiration. And as you can imagine, Sherry and I do very different things on a daily basis. So I'm Yvette Brown, co-founder of X Promos. I started a promotions agency and became an entrepreneur at 23 with my then 29-year-old business partner, Sherry Nomadi.
So you all know that makes me Sherry Nomadi, the older, wiser one. And you know that Yvette and I approach business from very opposite ends of the spectrum, and yet we always come to the same conclusions on how we help our clients succeed. And that is the essence of our business now for the last 35 years, going on 36.
I know, right?
Yeah. So Yvette, I think we should give them 3 uses of how we use it in our life. And I'm going to go ahead and start.
That'll give me time to think of one.
Yeah, you can start thinking about it. You probably have way more than 3, but pick 3. So I'm going to talk about the business development role that I play with the organization. And just this week, I did all of these things, and I'll walk you through what I did. The first thing I did was I decided this is a new audience that I want to go after. And so I told AI, this is my audience. And I filtered it, I picked them, I had them, I uploaded it all, and I said, put this in an Excel chart with these headings. And it probably would have taken me maybe 2 hours or so to do that. It spit it right back out to me in less than 5 minutes. And then I was like, okay, great. Now I need to figure out how I'm going to get the emails. And I had a source and I was going to do that. And it said, oh, you could upload a file. And I'm like, great, I'm going to upload this file. Oh no, we need a CRV file. Well, okay, simple. Hey, chat, can you give me this in a CRV file? Boom. Put it in, set it up, help me with the emails. And then I said, this is a new audience I'm going after. And this is the messaging that I want to say to this audience. So build me a story brand for that. And this is what, I'm selling all that. They already knew all that because I'd already put that in. And it came back with this wonderful story brand. And I said, this is fabulous. And now my plan, and now drill it down to a few messages that I can use, because I'm going to start with social media. And all of that happened within less than 30 minutes. And if any of you know what I'm talking about, that would have taken at least a week, and back and forth and back and forth. And now all Yvette and I need to do is sort of sit down and refine it, but I've got a solid plan. I've got all this stuff and information that would have taken me weeks. I did it in 30 minutes or less.
I think that's a really great example. And I think for those of you who are listening, you can probably ascertain that Sherry has some amazing skills and sometimes is, a little technologically challenged. So for instance, it's a CSV file that they were probably asking for. CRV is actually a Honda model. But that's
You're so right.
That's kind of the point is that, Chat kind of figured all that out for her. So I think
I
that's awesome.
probably wrote CSV because I had it in front of me, but when
Yeah.
we're talking, yeah, Honda CRV came to mind.
Exactly. So, for me, different than Sherry is that I use AI in a lot of different creative ways. And, as I'm a copywriter through and through, I've been writing since I was in high school journalism, so for a very long time, and I really enjoy it. And it's something I take great pride in. So other than other people that may not like it as much as that, I use it differently. It does help me with my creative. For instance, when I'm trying to think through an idea, it gives me someone to talk to, right? And just sort of like flesh something out. It's like, I'm kind of want to say this, but I don't love how this is, and it will make refinements and suggestions and things like that. Also, sometimes I'm really looking for a word that's more specific, and it's a lot faster than trying to go to an online thesaurus, and I can easily ask it for 5 examples of the words, and it usually will get something for me within that space. And even kind of, again, opposite of what other people do, I oftentimes will draft my first email first, and then using, what I have learned over time, crafting, sort of best case or, best practices, but then I'll drop that into ChatGPT and I'll say, hey, how can you make this better for me? And, I don't love every single thing it does. It's certainly doing it that way keeps it from saying, hope all is well, or like one of the, giveaway bad, AI generated intros, but it usually comes up with some pretty decent ways to improve it. So, that type of interaction is the type of things that is one example of, what I do pretty much every day. So Sherry, I'm going to volley back to you for number 2.
Okay, number 2 is lately I have been running our social media platforms. And so each week I sit down and decide, okay, this is the audience that I'm speaking with, and these are the types of images I want. And I will go in, I will tell chat, this is what I want, this is my audience, this is what I want the graphic to convey, and I'll ask for about 8 because I need 5 or 6, and I'll get them. And now we've learned how to edit images, so it's even better. And then I will say, okay, this is the message I'm trying to communicate, make this better, kind of like Yvette was saying, and it'll pop out something that's way better, and boom, I've got everything ready for the week.
That's fantastic. I would say that my second one is, and I do this a lot, and this is one of the great uses of having something like chat or whatever your LLM of choice is on your phone, is that, especially coupled with my ADHD, there is always a number of questions in my brain about things, right? Especially when I'm out and I'm on a dog walk, I'm, on a nature walk, whatever it is, and random things pop into my brain and I have these burning questions. I can ask chat to answer it for me right there. And, this isn't really for trivia night. It's more about, creating metaphors for certain situations, trying to remember what the name of, it's like you get a certain age and those words don't always come to you, but like it helps you, get down into what you're trying to say easier and better and with greater clarity. And it does that for me right out of the gate. And, in case you didn't know, when you do have those conversations on your phone, it will automatically track back to your, desktop version or laptop, whatever you're on. So it's also keeping those conversations for later so that you can engage with that as well. So those questions, those off the top of your head questions, because you're in a conversation with someone and you don't remember whatever, you can ask real quick and get that information, and it's a million times faster than doing a search of any kind. And I would say I do that daily, undoubtedly daily.
All right, that's a good one. I would say my daily, and it's a personal one, is I have replaced it with Google. And I just rarely ever use Google anymore. And that's because if you ask Google a question, it's going to send you, I don't know, a half a dozen, maybe more of these little links that you can go to that you have to sort and read through and maybe find the one little piece of information that you asked it for that it just couldn't spit out to you. But if you just go and ask chat, it's like, boom, there's your answer. And it's so much faster and easier that I use it every day.
I think that's a great one, and I think that's sort of not it aligns with my number three, I think, as well, which is, unlike you, Sherry, I'm not a master chef. I'm kind of like a little simpler when it comes to those kind of things. And so sometimes I just need a really easy way to cook something. And that's like, hey, I found these pork chops in the freezer and I just want to throw them in the air fryer, and how am I going to do that and not make them dry? Or how long is that going to take? Or whatever it is. Like really much more simple things, and much to Sherry's point, instead of going through recipe hell in trying to drill down to the basics of what I need, I can just get chat to kick something out like that. And I find those purposes to be really amazing. And I don't know, the amount of information that is in my hand with the world's experts all the time is overwhelmingly awesome. And once you sort of remember that, it just it not just is easy because you get that information pretty easily, but it's a time saver, right? Every one of
Right.
those little Google searches, can easily, and that's not even counting the rabbit holes, you can end up spending half an hour when you just needed to find out how long that pork chop was going to take, right? When you can
Right.
just ask and get an answer right away and then move on to something else that's more important in your life, that's going to bring more value. All of those little things add up, and I think that's really the point, is that it's all of those little things, and recognizing that this your buddy is right here to answer all those questions and guide you all the time.
So I think we have just demonstrated that even though we are in the same business together and we use it every day, we are using it very differently. And that's because, as Yvette said earlier, it's really role dependent. Our roles are very different, so we are going to use it very differently, but we are clearly both using it daily.
Yeah, and I think the other point to that, Sherry, is really that we're using it very differently, but the foundational skills are the same.
Right.
And that is kind of the essence of what our AI training has been all about, is teaching people, knowledge workers, how to use this tool on a foundational level, starting with the really basics of like, here's the 10 different things that ChatGPT or your other LLMs can do that you didn't even, probably 8 of them you don't even know about, and working and building that foundation up to all the way to automations and APIs. And
Hmm.
the key to this really is that how you use it, how I use it, how Sherry uses it, everyone is going to use it differently, because we all have our own unique skill set. We have our own responsibilities. We have our own interests in life. And the point is, if you're not using this, you're not tapping into this, not only are you wasting time, but you're really not optimizing your, output either. And it's critical that we all get skilled up in this way, right? It's going to happen eventually. And, the sooner you do it, the better.
And speaking of getting skilled up, Yvette and I took a look at the calendar because we were thinking, how much time is left in the year? And well, it turns out that we have just enough time, if we start in a couple of weeks here, to get you and your team skilled up by Thanksgiving. And so we, being promotion people at heart, put together this offer that you can't refuse. And that is get your team skilled up by Thanksgiving with this buy one, get one free offer. So you buy one package, you get one free. You can train twice the number of people for that same price. And actually, the first thing you need to do is set a meeting so you can register by September 19th. We're planning on beginning the week of the 23rd. And we know that you will see an ROI within that first hour of training, because that's been reported by 100% of the people that have done this. And then you can start enjoying 100x or more in your productivity improvements by Thanksgiving.
Yeah, and that's really the key to this, is that, much like we've talked about today, this is very much role-based training, because everyone is different and everyone needs to learn these foundational skills, but how they apply it to their role is entirely different. But when we go through this training, it's built, it's live, it's 1 week, it's an hour a week, and we built it in such a way that as you're learning, you're actually checking things off your list and you are optimizing problems within your role. You are, not doing assignments that have nothing to do with anything or are conceptual, but rather are infusing AI into the things that you do every day. And that's really the key to it. So we wanted to just talk about that today, throw this in as part of our podcast. You can find out details about the promotion at xpromos.com/AI. And we would love to help you, get your team skilled up. Just set up a meeting with Sherry and I. You can find the links there. And let's get this thing going, because we're all going to need these skills. And the sooner that you get them, the sooner that you are going to be ahead of the curve, your team's going to be ahead of the curve, and your organization's going to be ahead of the curve.
Absolutely.
And that, my friends, is all we wanted to share today. And we thank you for tuning in. We'd love you to like and subscribe, and we'd love to see you in our AI training.